Welcome into the CHGO Bears Podcast, Sunday edition. The Bears had practice, so we have a show. Adam Hoge, Mark Carman, Greg Braggs Jr. with you to start. Nicholas Moreano will join us shortly as he wraps up his duties at Hallis Hall. Training camp coverage on the CHGO Bears Podcast, as always, is presented by Ray Chevrolet. Shop the Freedom to Save sales event all month long by visiting Ray Chevrolet in Fox Lake or raychevrolet.com. They've been serving the community since 1963. Together, let's drive. Boys, open practice today. Hot. Pads were on. How we feeling?
Well, we're feeling great. Greg and I had an outstanding time, as did you, Hoge. Sitting in the Greg Bragg section today, I've officially learned that the Bears are dubbing the ADA section the Bragg section. And Casey Standahar was out there, and just a shout out to tons of people saying hi today. Our guy Quincy, AM Whiskey Aaron, there was a whole host of people. William, Terrell, our guy. I mean, it was really a lot of love out there for CHGO today. So just letting everybody know how much we appreciate it. You guys went above and beyond saying hello today. It was awesome. And Greg was I learned so much sitting next to him today that I really am grateful for the experience.
Yes, I have to talk to Mark for another hour. He chose to sit next to me at training camp. So that was lovely because Mark is just so good at not being able to have a normal conversation like a normal human being. He's always doing something to mess with you and joke with you and test you on your knowledge. But we were entertaining everyone in the stands around us. They do find our banter very, endearing. They just don't have to deal with it on a daily basis like me and Adam do.
I thought the woman to our right that we were entertaining.
She was the MVP. She was fanning herself, which in fact was fanning us. So that she was the MVP of the day.
Yeah. But Hoge, why don't we jump into our best and worst to start the show here today, if you don't mind? And Adam, I'd like to tee you up for best and worst because I think Bears fans.
I don't mind.
Yeah.
Adam encourages it.
Yeah. I mean, the worst is the first 3 minutes and 2 seconds of the show.
I thought it was an outstanding 3:02. Thank you very much. Hoge, what's your best and worst, buddy? What do you got, pal?
Well, there was an absolutely beautiful throw from Caleb Williams to DJ Moore, and DJ made a nice over-the-shoulder adjustment to haul that in because it wasn't the easiest catch of all time for sure. Degree of difficulty was up there, but the ball was put in the right spot. Great throw, great catch, and you definitely want to see more of that between number 18 and number 2. So I thought on a day where, let's be honest, there wasn't a whole lot of great moments out there. That was slim pickings on the best, but that was easily, really, really good. It was probably one of the better highlights of camp overall. The worst for me, guys, I don't know how it could be anything else, but Teven Jenkins, he was out there in walkthroughs, he stretched, and then he didn't practice after that. And we didn't have a chance to talk to Matt Eberflus today. I don't think Matt Eberflus probably would have given us too much anyway, but we didn't get to talk to that coach, so we have no update on what that means. Was he sick? Did he get hurt? Regardless of what it is, when it comes to number 76, no one likes to see him out because he's really good and he has a lot of injury problems. So it's important that he's in there. And when he's not, you notice he's not because, he's arguably the best offensive lineman when he's, actually healthy and in there and playing. So yeah, not good there with Teven Jenkins. So that would be my worst. Gregory, you're up, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess I'll just go full meatball mode for my best and worst today. I mean, I'll have a theme here with my best and worst beyond the meatball, and that's about energy. And my best, I guess, because like Adam said, it was a very uneventful practice for the most part. So my best was the only sign of life I saw, and that was Austin Booker and Braxton Jones getting scrappy with each other. I mean, you don't want to see teams trying to rip each other's teammates trying to rip each other's heads off. But at the same time, it was just such a down practice. It was like, okay, it's about time somebody wakes up around here. And and Booker and him. That's going to happen at practice. We saw Kyle Long and Akeem Hicks. It was like a rite of passage every year at training camp that those two guys would get into it. And both guys were pretty good football players too. So that spoke to their competitiveness and their desire to be great, not just on game day, but on the practice field. And that's what it takes to win in the National Football League. So you can call me a meatball all you want. But the fight I appreciated because it showed these guys care. They were broken up at some point and bygones be good bygones, but the first real dust up of training camp, because the Caleb DeMarcus Walker face off early in the year really wasn't much. This was a true fight where there was a little bit of I'm not going to say blows thrown, but they were certainly swinging on each other, and then they went to the ground. So first real fight of camp. That's my best. My worst is the other end of the pendulum, and that is today there was no energy at practice. 2.5 hour practice. And from my vantage point, from the practices that I've been to so far, this was the lowest energy yet. And to me, if you're going to put the pads on, today was a padded practice. If you're going to put the pads on, then that's when the ramp up of intensity needs to take place. You're going to have plenty of practices throughout the offseason and here in August heading into the season where you're not in pads and there's going to be a lower tone of energy. But today on a Sunday, here trying to get ready for week 1, not enough energy, guys. I'm sorry. And so if you want to try to say, if you're Matt Eberflus, like, hey, we're in game week mode now, there's a game coming up on Saturday and we're going to start simulating week to week the way we do in the regular season. Okay, that's fine. Then play your guys on Saturday, because today, in my eyes, in my opinion, if each practice is going to be an hour and 10 minutes long to start the first half where you're not doing much but walk through simulation stuff, doing the X's and O's, okay. But then that second hour and 20 minutes of practice that we're having where you're doing the 1-on-1, 7-on-7, 11-on-11s, taking as long as you are to get to that stuff, then I want to see the tempo picked up and the intensity picked up. When you get them pads on, those are precious reps to have yourself ready to play the Titans. So to me, my worst is not enough energy.
By the way, Beyond the Meatball is the title of Greg Bragg's upcoming memoir.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to reading it all in its full depth. And I do appreciate kind of right now the panic, borderline panic that we're getting from the Bragg's Corner right now.
Every time I have a criticism, it's defined as panic. I'm not panicking. This is my day-to-day observation.
I'm panicking.
It's not a panic.
I'm panicking.
I also want to I want to nitpick a little bit, but I'm going to let Carm do his best and worst first.
Okay.
Just on what we saw today. Yeah.
Well, and when I say, by the way, that I'm panicking, I am concerned that training camp is looking very similar to how training camp started last year. So, but my best today, I'm going to shout out our guy, Jayla Johnson. There was one ball where he was guarding Rome Odunze, and Rome made a sweet move on him and had maybe a half step, even a full step on him. And Caleb bulleted the throw to him. And Jalen was able to recover and come over the top of Rome and bat it down. And, listen, in training camp, I want to see that ball complete. I'm looking at the offense, but the level of competitiveness from Jalen Johnson for a guy who just got paid and how good he is fundamentally guarding everyone day in and day out is impressive. So I think Jalen's had a great camp, and everything about him screams vet, and so I'm going to make him my best today. My worst, I shouted him out yesterday, and I am hoping for somebody to emerge and be the fourth wide receiver who can, impact the game at times during the season. Colin Johnson had a rough day today. He had 3 drops by my count, and that adds on to. And yesterday, I'm looking at him. He's making some sweet plays, and everybody's allowed to have it up and a down day. But look, for a guy like that to really break through, he's got to be consistent. And today was just not a good day for Colin Johnson. And Braggs, I would also, I debated putting in for my worst day, just the pace of play. It just feels lethargic. It's kind of hard to say that from our seats, but that's just kind of how it feels to me.
Well, and that's what I kind of wanted to nitpick a little bit and clarify, because I don't think it's fair to say, like, today's practice was still physical. Like they got at once they started going in team drills. It started with one-on-ones. Like I understand the ramp up to get there. This hour long like warm up they're going through is a little different. But I do think we need to be fair and say it was still physical practice. I thought it was actually very physical. I thought there was times where I was worried, like how Terrell Smith was going up on wide receivers, basically doing the opposite of what Kevin Byard was talking about yesterday.
Yep, that's fair. Him and DJ Moore were battling more than a few times today.
So I still think it was a hot physical practice. What I agree with both of you on, though, is especially that word that you just said, Carm, like lethargic. Like it could. Those are two different things. Like you could still have a physical practice, but it didn't feel like the energy, to your point, Greg, was maybe where it needed to be. So,
and maybe
I don't know. And again, that's our vantage point from the sideline. We were probably hot too. I didn't get as much sleep last night as I normally do. So, like, maybe we were lethargic.
Could be. And I guess the one thing that didn't make our worst today was the offensive line play. And maybe that was part of why it felt down in the dumps, because the offensive line play, yes, offensive line headline of our show is a concern with the injuries starting to mount up. But beyond that, the play of the offensive line, regardless of who's out there, hasn't been great. You had, blatant holds, on Javon Dexter that, they had to call plays dead. You had a couple botched snaps from the first team and the second team. A 2-minute drill that didn't go anywhere for the first team. You had their final 11-on-11 session, starts with a false start, has a fumbled snap, bad throws. They just never could get on the same page because their depth is starting to hurt a little bit on the offensive line because of the injuries. So then that caused, there not to be as many plays today, which is what adds to the energy of the day. I mean, like you said in your best, Adam, when you hit a deep shot to DJ Moore over the top on a little fade to the corner pylon route, and DJ lays out for a touchdown, that got everybody going. But those plays were few and far between. But, energy can also come from a good defensive play, and we didn't really see too many of those either. So it just across the board, who's making plays today? Not too many plays were made today in terms of splash. And that's what you're looking for. That's how you're going to win games, is making splash plays. Today, there wasn't as many of them. No, we're not sounding the alarm, but at the same time, Eberflus has to, go ahead, Mark.
No, I am sounding the alarm slightly. Listen, they got a day off tomorrow. Flus called this a big week. You can't control health, but I hope to, when they come back, and I get it. Like, look, you just had travel. You had the Hall of Fame game. You're coming back in. It's super hot out there. All the things. It's a long ass training camp. Started early. Like, guys are looking at their watches. Cole Kmet yesterday. Can't believe it's August 3rd and they got another 5 weeks of this before the vets are ready to go right now. I get the grind, and it's a long season. But look, you do have the key component on your whole team is a rookie, and you need intensity in these practices to get him, along with Rome and everybody else, just up to speed. So when the bullets really do start flying, or when the games count, they're ready. And right now, to me, they do not look ready, or anywhere even close to ready, I would say.
No, I don't think they do either. And but that's the good thing. That's the good thing about it only being August 4th now, is they do have time. They still have 3 preseason games. But that leads us to the next question, which we'll get to, after we thank a couple sponsors here. And that is, how does this offensive line attrition factor into decision-making this week? And we'll go over what the offensive line looked like here in a second.
And before real quick, Adam, before you jump, just to put a bow on this, before you jump to the ads, I made the observation on August 2nd of last year, almost a year to the day. And I said, while there's supposed to be twice as many snaps as yesterday, today's practice doesn't have the same energy as yesterday. And so a year later, I'm citing energy. So, people, you can go in the comments of that tweet and people go, calm down. Everyone's relaxed. We're making observations, but 2 years in a row, shouldn't be talking about energy at training camp when the pads are on, period.
Well, look, all we're doing here is we're driving to be better, because we're driven by the search for better. Then when we got to do that, we got to go to Indeed, because when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, guys, match. And you match with Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/AllCity. Just go to Indeed.com/AllCity right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/AllCity. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Indeed. I love a great deal, by the way, as much as the next guy. And I love our friends at Mint Mobile. I'm not going to go completely crazy for this great deal. Like, I probably wouldn't sit with Braggs again for all of training camp day just to,
Please don't.
I wouldn't do that. I'm not going to go, scale Mount Everest just for a few bucks, but it's got to be easy. And that's why Mint Mobile is so beautiful, because it's easy to get wireless for just $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan. That's all you got to do. 3-month plan, and then you got to break up with your old provider. That might be the longest part, but getting started with Mint Mobile is easy. All you got to do is go to mintmobile.com/CHGO, and right now, all 3-month plans, $15 a month. That includes the unlimited plan, so all the texting and talking you want to do, they've got it for you. And all plans come with high-speed data, unlimited talk, text delivered to the nation's largest 5G network. Find out how easy it is to switch to Mint Mobile and get the 3 months of premium wireless service. Thank you, for $15 a month. To get this new offer, go to mintmobile.com/CHGO. That's mintmobile.com/CHGO. Cut your wireless bill, $15 a month. Mintmobile.com/CHGO. $45 upfront payment is required. New customers on the first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional tax, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details.
You're going to want to hear what Jalen Johnson had to say today about not being named on the NFL top 100 list. But before we get to that, real quick, guys, your offensive line today was Braxton Jones at left tackle, Jerome Carvin at left guard, which 90% of the people there today had never heard of until today. Ryan Bates at center, Bill Murray at right guard, and Matt Pryor at right tackle.
Woof.
Carman, if that's your offensive line on Saturday, are you playing Caleb Williams?
Yes, I am. I know that's, maybe people are going to say absolutely not, but I am playing him, and I'm at least getting him out there for a series. I'm handing the ball off. I'm letting him get on the field. I'm letting him feel the excitement of it, and I'm working on the operation. How many false starts have the Bears had in the last 10 days? I don't know, 58, whatever it is. It's too many. So get him in the game, and you have no idea at this point if the Bears' offensive line is going to be healthy when they play the Tennessee Titans week 1 of the season. So I'm not holding him out. He needs the reps. He wants the reps. You do not have the luxury to do it. I'd play him.
It's scary, Adam. We started the day where me and Carm were in agreement that the music was too loud at training camp, and I knew that was a red flag that I'm either getting old or getting a little crazy by having, the same opinions as one Mark Carman, but I'm step for step with him on this as well. Yes, you play Caleb Williams and the starting offense. Whoever's ready to play plays on Saturday for, I would hope, the minimum of 1 quarter. Play at least a quarter. And then if you want to call it there, you play 1 series. That's not enough, especially if it goes 3 and out. The reps are vital. There's going to be injuries to the offensive line. Nate Davis and Teven Jenkins, we already knew going into the year that there was going to be a hard way to depend on them. Well, yeah, of course we'd love to have Darnell Wright out there. He also had injuries he had to work through last year. So I'm sorry. We talked about this going into the Hall of Fame game, and I'll readily admit that, I wanted them to play that game, and watching that field conditions on Thursday night, it was clear that probably was the best decision. But field conditions aside, I still hold true with my belief that they need as many reps as they can get. 45 to 65. That's what Matt Eberflus said. So I want to start getting close to that number. And I don't want to hear in a week from now that the reps that they get in a live practice at Hallis Hall on Thursday, August 15th, counts towards those 45 to 65 reps. They don't. When the quarterback has the chance of being tackled, those are live reps. And that happens in preseason games. Matt Eberflus hasn't earned my trust to the nth degree to cut back all preseason reps, to, slow down, throttle down at training camp, August 4th. Not saying that that's what happened. I'm just, to me, I want to see a ramp up. I want to see a ramp up in energy at practice. I want to see a ramp up in reps in the games. And then come out hot. You started the season 0-4 last year for a bevy of reasons. Injuries, trying to have a game plan that didn't work for your offense. They weren't ready to play football last year, guys. They started 0-4. And I would like to see this team get off to a little bit of a faster start. I'm not asking for much. And then maybe when they're in the hunt in December, they actually do have a puncher's chance of doing something formidable. So, yes, I'm playing my guys on Saturday.
Well, let's see if Nate Davis is back on Tuesday. He was clearly ramping up today. He was in practice, in pads, and then you could tell when individuals got done, he basically ran over by the conditioning area. That was pre-planned. So I'm assuming that after an off day, they can get him back in there. We don't really know what's going on with Darnell Wright, but we'll see if this change. Look, the game is still basically a week away. It's Sunday right now. The game is on Saturday. There's still some time here. But to answer my own question, to me, it just depends on what Flus's plan is for this Bengals game next week, because they got this practice against the Bengals, and if they're going to use that as their excuse to not play guys in the game, then yes, they need to play this week, because otherwise, if they don't play against the Bengals, even if they only play a quarter this week, then they don't play against the Bengals. What, you're putting it all on the Chiefs game at the end on a short week? It's just, yeah. That's why I'm really curious what the plan is for the Bengals game, because I feel like that determines all of this.
The math is getting more challenging, especially challenging if he sits out the Buffalo game. Why do you think? What's your read on this Jerome Carman character there, Hogan Braggs? He's undrafted guy. Chiefs had him first, then on the practice squad. Now I guess he's ahead of Jatiri Carter. Is that a
well? That was what I was going to say. Is my takeaway is that it's very interesting to me that Jatiri Carter is behind him on the depth chart. So otherwise, I don't have much to say about that situation.
Jerome,
none of them. Here's my takeaway. None of them are Teven Jenkins.
Yes, they're not. And I busted out the Nicholas Moreano binoculars today to watch some offensive line play, and I got to tell you, might have to go get my own pair of Nicholas Moreano binoculars. It was so helpful to see what was going on up front. I didn't think it looked great up front. I thought it looked a little. It just didn't. And as far as the other gentleman you mentioned earlier, Matt Pryor. He looks the part, but as far as the size and whatnot, but his timing needs to improve too. He had a false start penalty today too. I don't know if there's a pot of gold at the end of the Matt Pryor rainbow.
Obviously, they see something in Carvin because he played ahead of Doug Kramer, who's been here longer on Thursday night. Gary helped me with that observation on Thursday while the game was going on, and he was right. So now you see him today and at left guard, starting left guard. So you've got Ryan Bates had a fumbled snap on the 2-minute drill. I'm looking here. Bill Murray with a blatant in 2-minute drill first team offense at the very end. This is how it went. First play, Caleb steps up in the pocket, slides left. Bill Murray, blatant hold as Javon Dexter rips around him. Not an easy, task for Ryan Bates or by Bill Murray. Next play, second play, fumbled snap by Ryan Bates. Fourth play, nice curl route to DJ Moore. That was the one positive. Fifth play, Caleb steps up, bails out. Play is blown dead and spotted in the backfield because Javon Dexter and DeMarcus Walker were immediately in the backfield. Near interception on the sixth play to Colin Johnson on a post route about 15 yards downfield. Terrell Smith almost got the interception. Seventh play, out route, incomplete, no chance of it. And then I believe the eighth play was when there was a fight right after that. But I could be wrong there. I mean, there was stuff like that all day. 11 on 11's another set. First play was a false start. You're seeing false starts. Fumbled snaps have started. They weren't an issue last weekend. The last time I came to practice, they'd only had one fumbled snap to my count. Now it seems like the last couple practices I've been to, I'm seeing a few more of them. So like last year where like fumbled snaps were like one of the biggest glaring issues. I hadn't had that on my list of like glaring issue other than like the snap not being like perfect in the chest. Sometimes there was an adjustment having to be made. Now the ball's going on the ground a couple times in snaps that were either under center or in shotgun on first team and in second team, whether it's Ryan Bates or Coleman Shelton. So overall, depth, injuries, execution, pre-snap, post-snap, it's not good right now.
So, what are you going with? 3 and 14?
Yeah, where are you at? 5 and 11? 5 and 12?
No, should be all right.
27 minutes of panic. They'll be fine.
10 and 7.
I readily admit, I've said this before. I readily admit, I ride the day-to-day emotional wave. You can call it as a fan, and however you want to define me as the moron in the stands. I do ride that wave day to day.
I like that show. Moron in the stands.
Moron in the stands. Moron in the stands. Yes.
I'll subscribe to that one.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
$10 super chats to the moron. But at the same time, I had people telling me, and I'm, to Carm's point, like, hey, this is starting to feel a little bit like last year. There is remnants of, man, this doesn't look good. This isn't good. I'm worried. And it's okay to say those things. It's not like, you're just focusing on the negative. You just want to be, this. No, we said there was concerns we voiced last year. We all hope that it works itself out. You do have another month. We know all the different things we can go to in terms of new offense, new quarterback, young team, long ways to go. You can say all those things, but there was things we were voicing our concern over last year, and they were, for some fans, they don't want to hear it right now. Let's just talk about the positive. Everything will work itself out. It doesn't always work out like that. So at the end of the day, we got to see what's in front of us. And for me, I'm going to read and react day to day. Tomorrow or Tuesday when they come back to practice might be a different day. Today, it's this energy, and that's all it is.
Well, it will be a different day. I know that. Unless there's another practice later on today I don't know about, which if there is, I'm not going to.
Good old two-a-days.
Two-a-days in Platteville.
Said at the same time. Good old two-a-days.
My mind's in the gutter. Can we move along?
We can. We're gonna take a quick break before we bring in the Jalen Johnson stuff at this point. But you are gonna want to hear what Jalen Johnson has to say about being snubbed on the NFL 100 list. But in the meantime, check out Circa. We talk about Circa all the time, and that's because Circa's the best. Circa strives to have a -110 split on their menu, unlike other sports books. They might give you the old -115 or -120. What does that all mean? It just means they're taking more of your money off the top. Circa doesn't do that. Circa Sports keeps as little money as possible on large market bets, especially compared to other books. They have high app limits. They're transparent. They do not limit players based on their winnings, and every player has the same limits, unlike other books who do limit winning players. I'd love to get to that point where they're limiting me because I'm winning too much. That never happens, but it's not going to happen with Circa anyway. And we encourage you to download and explore all the sports betting apps available You can compare the lines for yourself, and you're going to find Circa is the best. Plus, they have the best customer service out there. Real people behind the brand who resolve issues in a timely fashion. Unlike the other books that use those chat bots. Download the Circa Sports Illinois app at circasports.com/Illinois-app. Again, that's circasports.com/Illinois-app to sign up today. Also be on the lookout for Circa events, watch parties, and tailgates. They are always with us for all Cubs Friday 120 clubs. If you or someone you know may have a problem with gambling, call 1-800-GAMBLER. That's 1-800-426-2537. Or you can text GAMB to 833-234 or visit areyoureallywinning.com.
All right, come with us. Let's go golfing. Let's celebrate that the Bears are back and training camp is looking oh so good. By August 23rd, it's going to feel that way. We're going to Cog Hill number 2. It's our second annual kickoff classic. It's presented by Circa Sports Illinois, by Coors Light, by Shady Rays, and Celts Up. You can sign up as an individual, twosome, foursome. You get 18 holes. You get a cart. You get a tee gift. You get a limited edition CHGO Pins and Aces golf polo that's available for purchase there. We've got giveaways. We've got prizes. We've got lunch. We've got drinks. We've got hanging out with amazing people like Adam Hoge. We also have sponsorship opportunities if you want to go that route. AllCHGO.com/events to sign up. AllCHGO.com/events. Once again, Friday, August 23, the golf tournament annual kickoff classic, our second one at Cog Hill number 2. Come on out.
All right, I teased this audio at Jalen Johnson, and that's why Nick's not here. He was at House Hall still covering Jalen Johnson's press conference after practice today. And I know Nick, I don't know if he ended up being the one to ask the question. I know he was itching, though, to ask him. Jalen Johnson did not make the NFL 100, voted on by the players, and this is what Jalen Johnson had to say about being snubbed.
Bullshit. Point blank period. There ain't no way there's 100 guys. Because, I mean, especially if he's going by the season, like, is it by season? Is it just by names? Like the top 100 names in the league? Or is it like, how do you guys know how it goes? What is it? Hey, no, I'm asking you, it's from last year, 2023? It's bullshit. There ain't no way. I don't know how you.
All right, we obviously had a problem there with the audio echoing for some reason, but I think you got the point. It's bullshit. And he brings up some great points. I mean, you're all pro, you make the Pro Bowl, you get paid. And honestly, and I couldn't hear if it was in there or not because we were having those audio issues, but I'm reading this tweet from Pat Finley, and he says, "Goddamn, Aaron Rodgers didn't even play in the season, and he was voted in."
It's crazy.
Crazy. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the whole list has been a shit show from that point. Rodgers making the list, didn't even play. Patrick Mahomes not finishing number 1 in any list.
That was crazy. But there's nothing that delegitimizes that list more than that. I mean, I don't care who got in the top 100 or whatever, but number four in what is Patrick Mahomes?
Right.
He's probably in the top 3 players on the White Sox right now if you put him on that team. I mean, what are we doing here? He's the number 1 player in the league, and the next closest, even if it's Tyreek Hill, who ended up being number 1, should be like, there's a huge gap there.
Right. He's not only not the number 1 player, they don't have him as the number 1 player. They didn't even have him as the number 1 quarterback. There's a quarterback ahead of him. Lamar Jackson, very good quarterback. Not better than Patrick Mahomes. This is not debate. So these players, they're just, hey, vote on merit, not who you like the most.
Yeah, and just for the record, for people who don't know, Tyreek Hill 1, Lamar Jackson 2, Christian McCaffrey 3. That's all of them are insane ahead of Mahomes, but that's particularly insane. Mahomes is 4, Myles Garrett 5, Chris Jones 6, Trent Williams 7, T.J. Watt 8, Travis Kelce 9, and Max Crosby is 10. That's the top 10. Look, Jalen, You know why you're not in the top 100? I'm sure he knows why. It's because the Bears have won 10 games combined the last 2 years. That's why. So when the Bears start winning football games, there will be a lot more recognition for the Bears. I'm not saying this is right. I'm just telling you that I think that's the very basic, obvious reason these guys are not getting the respect. Yes?
Fans call it the Bears tax. So when you're on the Bears, you get overlooked. Nobody talks about you. And when Roquan Smith was on the Bears and he was one of the better linebackers in the league, nobody acknowledged it. And then when he got to the Ravens, now all of a sudden everyone wants to talk about how he's the best linebacker in football, or one of them. So people call it the Bears tax too. Jalen's a pretty unassuming guy. He's not putting himself, on commercials and things of that nature. He, did the interview tour right before camp, but at the same time, I don't know if as many people know him as they do in Chicago, but it's the Bears tax. If you put Jalen Johnson on the Jets, then all of a sudden everybody knows who Jalen Johnson is. But the hope is, like Kyle Brandt said, the Bears are the cool team now. We're going to be on Hard Knocks. They're going to be a spotlight on these guys that isn't the normal spotlight this time of year. And maybe we go into the season with a little, some of these guys getting a little more notoriety that they deserve. Guys like Jalen Johnson and DJ Moore not making the top 100. It's a joke.
And it's that simple, because you go back to 2018 and they won. They had 900 Pro Bowlers. They were unexpectedly good. The GM won GM of the year. The coach won Coach of the year. It seemed like every single player was in that Pro Bowl that year, including Mitch Trubisky. Yes, he made it as an alternate, but that did actually happen. Yes, it has a lot to do with winning. Also, we spend a lot. I hate having to do this because I think the concept of the top 100 is really cool to have your players vote, your peers vote on it. I wish they could come up with a better strategy to make it more legitimate, because I've seen the way they do this in the locker room, and guys don't spend enough time really thinking about it. And that's how you end up with crazy things like Patrick Mahomes not being number one.
Well, look, yes, sure, a better process. But the other side of this is these lists, they don't matter. This is not, no one has an incentive in their contract for these guys. If you're in the top 100 or top 10, you get an extra 50,000 bonus. That's not how it works. Pro Bowl bonus, playoffs bonus, so yards, whatever, interceptions, these are the bonuses. So, I mean, I like that Jalen's pissed about it, but it really, really, really doesn't matter where you are on this list, in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah,
Aren't
but
you isn't Carm the guy that always gets mad when they do the top 20 media guys and he's not on the list?
That matters. Well, what Agra says matters.
No, he's on the list. He's always number 21 on the list of top 20.
Just like Jalen's 101. He said he's 101. I'm 21. And I'm very confident this year I'll be 21 again.
No, they revealed the 10 left off, and Jalen and DJ both weren't on that either. So it's 111 for one of the two.
Also, Carm, I hate to say it, that list does not matter. If you're not going to consider outlets like CHGO, it doesn't count.
Excellent point. List doesn't
damn
matter.
Right.
Screw Agrist. Guy's annoying.
Well, I didn't say that. You said that. That's not how you get on his. That's not how you get on his list, by the way.
No, Agrist and I are tight. I'm buttering him up daily. I've been sending him flowers every day, just begging to be on the list. If I can somehow, some way.
I'm not. Screw you, Agrist, and your list. Flip it.
Okay.
Not afraid of you, Jeffrey. I'll make my own lists.
You should make your own list. Your own never-ending panic list of things that bother you. Just.
All right, I think we got the audio figured out. Let's. I want people to be able to hear what Jalen Johnson had to say. So here, I think we got it ready to go. Steven, let's re-rack that. Here's Jalen Johnson.
Make Pro Bowl, All Pro, and you're not a top 100 guy. I could have been 101, I guess, but goddamn, Aaron Rodgers didn't even play in the season. He was voted. So, hey, everybody made mistakes. It ain't just the media that do it. The players, clearly, if they voted for this, they made some goddamn mistakes. But it is what it is. End of the day, I know the truth, and it's okay. I got some more for him.
I love that this is going to motivate him.
He is. Jalen's just impressive, man.
Yeah.
Dude gets paid. He's got more money than you could ever possibly use. I mean, unless you're a complete, just letting money on fire, which many an athlete has done. I don't think Jalen's going to be that type. But I'm not satisfied where I'm at. I'm thinking about my next contract and winning games and everything else. This dude's got a lot of pride in his performance. I appreciate that about Jalen.
All right, let's bring in Nick. I know he's back with us and was there for Jalen Johnson. Nicholas Moreano joining the show now. Nick, you were there. What did you make of his comments?
Well, yeah, I was the one who asked him the question and just kind of trying to get his perspective on why he thought he didn't make it. So, I mean, for Jalen, like, he feels like he's done enough. Like, that's why he was asked, what is this based on? Like, this is last year's performance. And for the players to vote on this and to keep him out, like, the bullshit and then also disrespectful, like, I think he has something to prove. He always feels like he has something to prove each and every year. But now I think there is a little bit extra. DJ, like Greg was saying, also didn't make that list. So it's I'm really curious to see how Jalen plays this year. And he, like, Mark, I heard you earlier in the show, like, he's been going up against all these Bears wide receivers. And I would say Jalen Johnson has won more of those reps than he's lost. Whether it's one-on-ones, team drills, he has been a shutdown corner. So good luck to the rest of the league, because now you have a motivated Jalen Johnson.
Good stuff, Nick. Way to ask him. Way to get him going. Anything else from Jalen that we're not going to play that stood out from that? Because both Hoge and I had to head on out.
Yeah, I did ask him, Mark, and you gave me the recommendation. I asked him about the physical training camp, like if this training camp was physical. And he said, well, I mean, he feels like every training camp is physical, whether they play with or without the pads. So he didn't really say that this one wasn't any less physical than any other training camps that he's been a part of. But just from the outside looking in, it feels like with the walkthrough periods being as long as they are, it feels like there's not as much going on. But when they do ramp it up, they do still obviously engage in physical activity and, everything. So he didn't feel like this one is toned down by any means. So,
and if I want to be fair to my criticism of the energy at practice or even the execution or lack thereof with false starts and, different things pre and post snap, the Thursday night game until it got rained out was relatively clean. There was the one false start penalty. So for what just in terms of the one preseason litmus test we have so far, it was much cleaner in that game than what we've seen so far in practice. So if you want to subscribe to the theory that they're working through things in practice, and then when the game starts, it's a different story. You saw a little bit of that on Thursday night.
And the competitiveness, at least on the one-on-one drills, has been there. I mean, when they're doing DBs versus wide receivers, it's a good battle out there. I mean, they're going. There's no doubt about that. And that I'll shout out DJ Moore too. He is just the pro that you want. He's every rep that he's out there, as far as I can tell, he's trying to win it. And the bomb that we started out the show with today was just phenomenal play. Separates at the end, makes a tough catch. I mean, he's really going all out, and then he lies on the ground in training camp. He was wearing a hood underneath his jersey, so it's hot out there. I'm like, why are you wearing a long sleeve hoodie underneath there? But I'm assuming it's just extra layering to help him get even better in shape, because otherwise, why would you wear that? And I appreciate his work ethic. It's impressive.
Another guy who should be in the NFL 100,
no doubt,
list. Who remind me, who did make it?
You had Montez Sweat, Keenan Allen. Montez Sweat and Keenan Allen.
Okay.
And
that was it.
That was it.
I mean, how is Tory Taylor not number 2?
He'll be there next year. Don't you worry.
Okay.
Do you want to hear Richard Hightower talk about Tory Taylor, Hoge? Since you just brought that up.
That's what I was going for, buddy.
You're so good. You're so good. You're so freaking good. You're just really good.
I can't believe you even doubted me.
I just wasn't there. I wasn't. I thought you might have forgotten. I don't know how I could have thought that, but I did.
Well, Tory Taylor did talk today, but Richard Hightower talked, and I want people to hear this, because we've heard Richard Hightower gush about his punter a lot, including on this show when he came on, but he actually had to stop himself today because he realized he was going on and on and on about this guy. And so then he, changed his focus to the backup punter, Carm's guy. But here he is, Richard Hightower, talking about Tory Taylor today.
Yeah, I mean, what I've seen from him is just growth every day. The person, like, first of all, he's a phenomenal teammate and he's a really good person. So even if he wasn't a football player, he'd be a guy I think that guys would hang out in the locker room. And then being an elite talent only adds to that. And he's always trying to get better. One thing is clearly evident with Tory Taylor is he don't give a damn about anything but winning. And that's how I think. So that's why I really love this kid. And he wants to work on his craft every day so that he can put the team in a position to own the field. That's how he thinks. He doesn't think like, it's my time to punt or run or just trot out there. He's like, I'm owning the field. This is my field when I'm out here, and I'm going to pin them for my defense. And that's the type of mentality punter I want, because that's a go-getter. That's what I want. So that's what I've grown to learn about him. And when he makes a mistake, he is the first one to say, I made a mistake, and what can I do to fix it?
Yeah, it was interesting hearing Tory Taylor then, because I asked him about basically what you just heard from Richard Hightower about owning the field. So I didn't really think about, like, I could tell like somebody like a Mark Carman would immediately roll his eyes at the punter owning the field. Which I get.
I rolled my eyes
did roll.
At pretty much all of that, unfortunately. I've never heard, and I appreciate it, by the way, out of Richard Hightower, I've never heard anybody talk about a punter like that. The desire to win that he's like, it's, I don't want to oversimplify this, but like the punter has one job, right? And that is to punt the ball. So like, a running back, like he could be great when he's with the football, but then like when he doesn't have it, then he kind of sloughs off, and that is desire to win. But the punter, he got one thing to do. So I'm not exactly sure. Like I'm a little confused, if I may, on like how he separates himself from other punters that really want to win. I know, Hoge, this is your territory, and you don't look very pleased with this, but did anybody other than me think that was a little bit ridiculous when he was like, the Tory Taylor really, really, really wants to win? I know that, he can come down on coverage and stuff and do other things, but didn't it just seem a little bit over the top to anybody out there other than me, this Tory Taylor or like Michael Jordan desire to win type of situation?
Well, maybe, Carm. Maybe.
Yeah.
That's exactly why he's so good compared to the other punters.
Oh.
When then he comes out and says, well, I'm the one who has the ball in my hand on that play. Which, I don't know if you know this about the game of football, Carm, but the football is the most important part of the game. Who is possessing the ball? And part of the reason why you'll hear some coaches say the punt is the most important play in football is that you are simultaneously possessing the ball and turning it over to the other team. And where you turn it over to the other team and potentially, best case scenario, knock that ball out and take it back. But the field position impacts scoring points. And points, Mark Carman, is how the winner and the losers of the game, that's how that's determined. So you may roll your eyes at a punter, but if you're a punter who takes that seriously, that you have the ball in your hand and that your foot is going to decide the field position, which is going to help your defense and then eventually your offense when they get it back, if you can dominate the game of field position, that could be how you have one of the best punters in the league, which I don't know if you've noticed.
The will to win.
The Bears punters have not been that great. They've been fine, but they haven't been great.
I want to be very clear here.
I didn't even see him punt today.
I like Tory Taylor a lot.
Did he? I mean, did he?
I've seen Corliss Waitman boom 8,000 kicks. I haven't seen Taylor nearly as much. Good observation, Braggs. I think Tory Taylor is fantastic. I love his personality. I'm excited he's the Bears punter. But again, did you hear what Tory Taylor said about his job as far as focusing? He's like, look, I got to focus for 10 seconds. That's it. I think most people can sit down and they can focus for 10 seconds. Now, I can't do it. Braggs can't do it. But 10 seconds is what he's asked to do.
Well, let me make the argument to you, Hoge, though, or Carm. Sorry, Hoge. I know that's very disrespectful what I just did. But Carm.
Yeah.
Let me make the argument to you that that's even harder to do than somebody that's on the field the whole time. So, like, keep your maintain your focus of the job at hand when you're only called on in certain situations for only 10 seconds. It's easy to lull yourself into sleep on the sidelines, like maybe you would do if you were just sitting on the sidelines. You know, sometimes you get a little sleepy like you are right now as I'm talking. And he's able to maintain his focus and be ready for that moment when he's called on. Nick is going to fall asleep to the thought of all this.
This is where Tory Tory Taylor was wrong in what he said today, because he did say, look, it's really one of those things where I've only got to focus for 10 seconds at a time. Like, really hone in and focus for 10 seconds. I think really any human on the planet can focus for 10 seconds. I think that's led to a lot of success. And if anybody knows from watching the show, and we see you out of practice, you love CHGO, we love you, but you know that Mark Carman cannot focus for 10 seconds. So Tory Taylor was wrong about that. Not every human can do it.
Well, he's not a human being.
I stand corrected. Nobody
what Tory Taylor was talking about as he was explaining why you can dominate for 10 seconds if you have the right mentality.
Apparently, I stand corrected. I'm not surprised. I'm getting a little pushback here. No, the will to win on the Bears rookie punter is something that we've never seen before.
TWTW.
Maybe in Bears history, honestly.
Nick, you're the Iowa guy here, okay? So, you know, I know Carm technically went to Iowa, but he doesn't claim it like he does Northwestern. So, I mean, you're the Iowa guy here. What is your take? Because, you know, when he was drafted, there was words said about a punter that you never hear in a draft, a weapon, by multiple people calling him a weapon. Ryan Poles, Rich Eisen on the call right when he was drafted. Adam Hoge, when he came on the show that night of the draft, a weapon. You've called him a weapon. Now, Richard Hightower is talking about his focus and concentration, speaking glowingly. Carm doesn't buy it. Do you buy it?
Of course I buy it. I mean, he wants to be good at his craft. And if it is punting, like, there is a way that you can do it better than other punters. Like, Trenton Gill's not here for a reason, right? His net average, how he was punting, there's a reason why they saw Tory Taylor like, okay, he could swap the field. He could pin us inside the 5. We haven't seen that in the game yet, but he'll get opportunities. And how Hightower's spoken about him, like, yeah, he better go do those things. And I think he's definitely capable of it. So, I mean, there's all these stats of, like, where the offense starts field position-wise, if it's before a certain point, like the chance of them scoring. And, you know, if we brought those stats up, I think we have at some point. Adam, I'm pretty sure you brought them up. And the likelihood of offensive scoring when they start at a certain position goes down when you have good field position. So, of course, it matters. And, of course, I buy what he's saying. And, you know, I'm really curious and interested to see when he goes out there in a preseason game, punts for the first time, pins a team inside the 5, and then Mark Carman's like, oh, shit. Like, that's exactly what Tory Taylor can do.
I'm not, again, I expect him to do that because I will call him punt god, and I believe in his talents.
No, you are not allowed to enjoy anything that Tory Taylor does as well this year. I'm calling it right now. You're not allowed to celebrate it.
That's
there
true.
will be you didn't want the Bears to draft him.
That's
You're
true.
not giving him respect right now. You get
no
zero joy. You don't get to have any joy out of any punt this entire year.
I am not quibbling with anything that Tory said today. I'm sort of amused by Richard Hightower and this whole. I mean, I rarely heard any coach talk about a player the way Richard talked about Tory Taylor today.
That should be notable. That should be notable to you.
That's the point. That's why we played it.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's interesting, you guys, because I was talking to Mark Grody and Chris Emma. They're like, wait, but hasn't he said, remember when they drafted Velus Jones Jr.? Like, wasn't there a lot of hype and talk about Velus? We have to go through the transcripts. Like, I don't know. This it wasn't like this is to the extreme. But to be fair, I wonder what he would say about Trenton Gill. Like, if we go back and look at some of the stuff that he said about Trenton Gill too. So I don't know.
We're pulling receipts on our boy Hightower here. That's good. That's good.
I can tell you for sure. Look, Hightower is a coach that's going to say, glowing things about his players and have their back. Anybody who's paying attention here understands this is way different. And it started honestly on this show when he came on and talked to me about Tory Taylor right after the draft. I mean, he did not talk about Trenton Gill this way. He did not talk about Velus Jones this way. He said nice things about them, but not like this.
He has told us that he's, a viewer of this show, this fine channel that we do here at CHGO Bears. So when he finds out that Mark Carman is mocking him for what he said at the press conference, he's going to be none too pleased. But when he watches this later tonight, he's going to know how you feel.
Somebody tell Braggs that he's just so cute and adorable that I can't even respond to what you just said. Richard Hightower knows how I feel about him. I love Richard Hightower. However, I was scratching my head in the back of the room today with this Tory Taylor. I'm like, ah. And yesterday I heard somebody whose name I will leave off here say on a broadcast that nobody in the world wants to win as much as Garrett Crochet. And today I'm listening to I'm like, really? There's nobody out there that wants to win as much as Garrett Crochet wants to win? Nobody in the history of baseball? And now Tory Taylor is like, we're zooming him pretty fast. That's all I'm saying. Can I see him punt in a preseason game before we give him, the full, I'm rich, $50,000 spent on the flowers at the wedding gift? That's all I'm saying.
Would you rather have a punter that wants to dominate and own the field, or a punter that just wants to go out there and kick the ball and get back to the sideline?
Carm wants Eeyore, the punter.
Because I don't really understand what you're taking obsession. I just don't understand what you're taking exception to.
Carm overanalyzing a press conference? I'm shocked.
I'm a little confused as to how what I've said has not been understood by this amazing conglomerate of people here, but I think we can let this one go. Go Tory Taylor, go Richard Hightower, go Bears.
We understand it, and then we also like to twist it up and make you look like the bad guy, which we did successfully. Yep. Now we can move on to the next segment.
Nobody has more L's than Mark Carman, except for Pedro Grafal.
No, listen. Next thing who else was dominating at practice today, Greg? Give me who else?
Well, I two observations I did make if we want to transition off the longest punter segment, and may we never do that again. Sorry, go ahead, Hoge, if you got some. I did have two observations from camp that stood out to me, and one was in 7-on-7s, and maybe you guys have seen
go
this.
Ahead. I swear to God, you said, "Hoge, go ahead," and then you just kept talking.
But you didn't take it. Like you gotta really.
There wasn't a pause.
No. You gotta just jump in there like a shark. Like you can't wait because I'm just itching to get my thoughts out. But go ahead, Hoge.
I was just gonna go to super. So share your two observations.
My two observations.
And then I want to hear Nick's best and worst because he wasn't with us off the top.
Yes, I said go ahead, and then kept talking. You got to jump in there. You got to be ready now. My two observations at camp, and maybe you guys can help me out this because you've been to more practices than I have. But in 7-on-7s, it was the first time I've seen them use the dummies for the defensive line to kind of challenge the quarterback in 7-on-7 drills to, have to maneuver in the pocket a little more, find different throwing lanes in different angles that are cut off because of these tall standing dummies. I hadn't seen that before until today. I don't know if you guys have.
Thanks for watching yesterday's show.
Did you guys talk about this yesterday?
Yeah,
well,
we
today.
Did. Next. What else you got?
To be fair, we had not seen him before yesterday's practice, so today would have been the first time that you
the
saw
wrinkle.
it.
Yeah, I like the wrinkle, like the next step in challenging Caleb Williams in some of these drills. And then the second one was in one-on-ones. In the one-on-one drills, it's a lot of times in one-on-ones, they just take the snap, drop back, throw it. But today in one-on-ones, they were doing simulated play action, 3-step drop and 5-step drops within the one-on-one drills. So I like that. That to me, I don't know if I've ever really seen that before in a one-on-one. So adding another element to some of these drills and the monotony of them, making an extra challenge within them. So I liked that.
Nick, did you want to chime in on your best and worst of the day?
And also for a transcript of Greg Braggs' last two things he said, send me an email, mark.carman@gmail.com, and I will transcribe those brilliant thoughts to you and send them off. Go ahead, Nick.
You're gonna get a bunch of emails. No, I think maybe someone mentioned this too. I really like how Jalen Johnson's playing. I think when you just watch him in his one-on-ones team period, he's locked down. So we mention him, of course, on this podcast because he is the Bears' top corner, but we like to highlight some of the receivers and what they do. But when they, go against Jalen Johnson on a consistent basis, it's just he wins those matchups. And then the worst, you guys probably talked about it, but the offensive line, the injuries that they're facing, it's something that when you think about the season ahead and what the depth looks like if guys go down, it's not the best scenario to be in. And Caleb Williams is running for his life at USC. You don't want that to be the case his first year in the NFL. So best and worst right there.
Nick, I am so sorry that you have to deal with.
You should apologize.
It's not my fault. It is his fault. Nick's trying to be serious. Mark's a complete jackass. I'm actually interested in what Nick has to say. Mark is just an idiot every day of his life.
Nick, I apologize to you. I'm sorry. I couldn't help but to whatever the hell he said in those two things. I think one of my ears fell off.
The best part about this is I'm usually the one that gets so irritated with you two. I've never seen Nick this annoyed with you.
There are a couple other things. I just got charged an extra day for the rental car service that I returned it today, and now I'm pissed about that. So there are a couple things that are irritating. This doesn't help though, so I'm ready to.
Nick, you're okay. We'll get back to professionalism. Hey, can we talk about what we have coming up tomorrow? Hoge?
No. Special show tomorrow on the off day.
All right, fine.
Can I ask you this? Because this is a discussion going on with Bears fans. So I want to ask you this because I have my opinions on it, but if I talk too much, we'll have to send Carman's transcript. Do you think that Ryan Poles has neglected the offensive line to this point in his tenure as GM?
No, because he did use a top 10 pick on a right tackle. And he did spend money on Nate Davis. And he did draft Braxton Jones too. I mean, which for a 5th round pick has been pretty good. So I don't think neglected is the right word. I think it's has he been successful enough on the moves he has made, or has he been aggressive enough? Sometimes I think is a fair thing to question at this point. And it is interesting because he's the offensive lineman. This is the area that, you would think would get turned around. And I think it's led to picks like Braxton Jones, but it sure as hell does feel like we're here in early August in a similar place. I mean, I can't tell you the amount of fans I was talking to today, even walking out with one of them that was leaving when I was leaving. It's like the same thing every year. The offensive linemen are banged up and hurt. And it's like, I can't blame Bears fans for feeling that way. It sure feels like that. And so but also I want to caution people, like the way the NFL works, you can't address everything right away. And it's only been 3 off seasons. So I do think they will get to the point where, depending on how this plays out, you will see a big investment in an offensive lineman somewhere. Now, the one area I will say is maybe they've neglected the center position.
Listen, they traded a 5th-round pick for Ryan Bates. All right, they went out and signed Coleman Shelton. They've gone premium and drafted Darnell. They've gone 5th round and drafted Braxton. There's no way in my mind that when Ryan Poles' head is hitting the pillow at night, he's feeling great about his offensive line right now. He's taking swings, but I think my guess is that he wished that he would have taken some different swings at the very least.
All right, I want to get to supers. I did want to bring up one quick moment from practice today, though, that I thought was hilarious. We saw a double doink that went in. We had a Cairo Santos double doink, but it bounced through the uprights. It bounced the right way, and there was a fan sitting by us that yelled out, "Times are changing." So that was a great moment, and hopefully they are, because usually that ball bounces the opposite way, as we know.
It was the loudest ovation at camp today. That double doink, the DJ Moore bomb and the double doink. Those were the two biggest crowd moments today.
All right, super chats. Son of Gore, $2. Hashtag dog days of August, Carm.
Okay.
Zero Demon, $9.99. How did Carvin and Bill Murray look against the ones? Carvin looked good in the last game.
Not great.
Yeah.
Did not look good.
Not sure anybody on the ones looked great today.
Do you have any notes with Carvin? I mentioned how Bill Murray had that holding penalty when Jervon Dexter beat him in the 2-minute drill. Nick, did you have anything on Carvin within your notes?
No, nothing on Carvin, who was playing what? That was at the guard spot, right? Or
yeah, he was
left guard. So nope, didn't have anything specifically on him.
Michael, $199. Caleb was forged in fire at USC. Don't baby him.
Right.
I think that's in reference to the point.
Yeah, I mean, that's the silver lining. He's used to bad offensive lines. It's not what you want to develop a quarterback, but, and they talked about it. Eberflus talked about it yesterday. His ability to throw on the run is probably his best in his arsenal. And so if in the unfortunate circumstance he is having to get out of the pocket at times, he's very good at stepping up, sliding over, protecting the ball, and letting her rip. He's got a great fastball when he's on the move. So, yeah, I agree.
But the thing you got to be worried about, that we've been down this road before, is developing bad habits because of the line play in front of you. And I do think that that's got to be a factor. And, part of this equation on when to play them and how much to play them and all that stuff. All right, Bears and Hawks, $10. Hey, fellas, love the show. Do the Bears do something different than other teams in OTAs and training camp with O-line that contributes to injuries, or are they just not that durable and injury prone?
I mean, it's hard to say without us being at other or OTAs and training camps, but I don't think they do anything differently. Just the injuries happen, and just
and the guy
for the Bears.
The guys who are out are kind of the same old guys that, this has been a thing. Now, Darnell Wright, this is a little bit different because, he had some things late last season, but he was playing through it. So I don't necessarily know what to make of that. We also don't know much about what that's all about, but I think this was his 3rd straight missed practice. So, yeah, I don't think there's anything different there, though. Bear down Omaha, $2. Hitting panic button again already about the O-line. Yeah.
Wouldn't be a Bears training camp if you didn't hit that panic button, right?
Yep. CJ Abbas, $4.99. Thank you, Brax, for helping me get rid of the Hall of Fame tickets. Appreciate it. Hall of Fame was cool. Hoge, you got to go soon. I do got to go soon.
Yeah, no problem, CJ. Was a pretty sweet event, and I'm glad Nick was able to make it home for it all.
Willie Beeman, $5. Teven is always hurt. I love the guy, but he's a liability, and I'm absolutely done with Nate Davis. One of the worst signings under polls so far.
Yeah, it was. They didn't do him much favors just in terms of the fans, because when they brought him out in pads, it was like, Nate Davis is in pads. Awesome. Step in the right direction. 20 minutes later, Nate Davis is out of pads. And it's like, God dang it. So like, I'm sure that's the plan they had for him, but it didn't help him from PR standpoint with the fans and good graces with him. So hopefully his ramp up period continues here in the next few days.
It's a rough day at Bears practice or Bears training camp when Nate Davis starts in pads, takes his pads off, when Teven Jenkins starts in pads, stretches, and leaves. That's not what you're looking for.
Yeah. But I do think there's a difference. I do think that was the plan with Nate Davis. And I would expect him to do team stuff on Tuesday when they get back out there. Zero Demon 999. Can we also get Meatball Panic about all the secondary that didn't practice today? Well, that's been a thing for a while now. Kyler Gordon, and then more recently Jaquan Brisker and Tyreek Stevenson. Those guys I'm not panicked about though, because they
were out there going through like the motions of some of the plays, like even though they weren't in pads.
But
I think they'll be fine.
But he's requesting a meatball panic. So if you will, I will entertain his meatball panic request. And the one thing, Jaquan's been out and he's like tweeting like these very like subliminal things. And like yesterday he tweeted, God is in control. Okay. Nothing to see there. Right. Okay. But then today he tweeted, this is him. This is just me adhering to the meatball request. He said, the ones you known to be around, not on my side. He tweeted that 58 minutes ago. So I don't know what he's got going on. I just hope he gets back out on the practice field. But he's scaring me with the tweets. But I know he's an active tweeter. He's like me on Twitter.
life advice, stay off of Twitter.
I refuse.
Also follow us on Twitter. Mob O'Brien, $5. Love you guys. Can't wait for Saturday. Bear down. Pizzatola, $5. Hogue, thank you for inducting me into the CHGO Hall of Fame yesterday. Couldn't have done it without Carm and his moronic takes. Maybe someday he'll get in.
Pizzatola, let me tell you something, buddy. I'm in the mood for you today, buddy. I'm not sure. I might call you Pizzy Tolisti today.
Before you decide what you're going to call him, maybe think about it before.
How at this point do you not come into a show with a good comeback to Pizzatola?
I think
it's coming. You should think about these things when you go to bed at night. You're never prepared. He just owns you every single day. The same way Tory Taylor owned Pat Finley today on his crocodile punter question.
I was very nice about that in our CHGO Bears Twitter. I said he did not want to be the crocodile punter when asked by a media member. I didn't tag Finley because I thought that, he wouldn't perhaps like that. I thought that was a very classy move by me because I'm a classy guy.
You didn't point and laugh at him like Brad Biggs did. That's
awesome. A good one.
Biggsy loved that moment in the press guy. It was pretty funny. There was another moment where I stared at Carm from across the room and got him to start cracking up. That was another good moment.
That was a rough moment. Do you know what moment that was, Nick?
No.
I don't think you do. I'll talk about it another time because it wouldn't be appropriate to speak about it.
499. Kate Helton, what should we expect from Williams in his first start?
Preseason.
How about 7 touchdowns?
I was going to go 5 touchdowns.
Yeah. Just competent. How about like the way Brett Rippon played the other night? It's pretty vanilla stuff. Make some throws, have some success. That's what you should expect. John Davis, $10. Nate Davis is going to get himself cut next year at this rate. He's never practicing. It's unacceptable at this point. Definitely the most hated player on the roster right now.
Not the most liked. It's
tough to cut him.
True.
I don't think they're going to cut him, John. But the problem is if you make Nate Davis a backup, and shout out to Herb Howard who made this point to me, and I think he's spot on. Like, does Nate Davis seem like the type of guy that is a one play away? He's ready to go guy. Like he just keeps himself ready. Like Nick's shaking his head. No, it just it doesn't seem like that would be a great idea. So
but if you can't trust a guy to be a backup, then doesn't that kind of answer your question?
He won't be there.
Sure. I mean, maybe they will.
Yeah, so, all right. I believe that's it for Supers, and we appreciate it. We got through the weekend. It's today was a hot one, and I feel like the Bears vibe was reflected on this show, which is probably how it should be.
Feels like a Monday. Doesn't feel like Sunday.
It does feel like a Monday.
I don't know what day. I haven't known what day it is for like 3 weeks now.
I had a great time today. I do apologize that Nick probably wants to at least 78% kill me and then 22% kill Greg. But other than that,
it seems like a fair percentage. Thank you for making fair percentages there, because it's not 50-50. It's definitely weighted in your way.
Right.
Which is why every person that comes up to us at camp, and we are so grateful for every one of you fans that come up to us and say hi. It's very humbling and cool to meet all you guys. But each person that says, "Hey, I love your show," I say thank you, and then I say sorry about Carm. It's become my tagline.
Yeah. And I say sorry about Greg and Carm.
Why? I can't apologize for myself.
You
should.
You should.
Just take a swig of the last nasty bit of backwash that you have in your diet, your Dr. Pepper Zero, and put yourself to bed. That's what you need to do.
That actually should be how you greet people, though, Greg. You should be like, "Hi, I'm Greg. I'm sorry."
Yeah. I'm so sorry. Hi, I'm Greg. Here's a Dr. Pepper Zero.
Oh, okay. Nick, I'm sorry too.
I just need food.
I just feel bad. All right,
I'm
let's
hangry.
let Nick go. Let's let all of us go. We'll
What the fuck?
So yesterday when Braggs was talking, and I know we got to go, I just started doodling when he started talking about Devin. And so somehow I wrote down Michael Jordan, and then I did like a bunch of circles, and then I made a heart. And I left this here, and my beautiful girlfriend Jackie came home and saw this and was like, "Should I be concerned?" And I would just like to say that, of course my answer was, well, that, you're obviously number 2 to MJ. But this is beautiful, and it's art, and I'm making this available at the Carman on Twitter. I will autograph it and mail it to you. If you would like this, I'm willing to give it up. Authentic Carm doodle during a Braggs 17-minute Devin Hester love affair. This is available for you. Hit me up at the Carm.
Well, through Carm's nonsense, we got an extra super chat in there. So that was $10 worth of our time.
I guess so. I was about.
Go ahead.
Carm, remember that Indeed read I did earlier in the show? You might want to check it out.
Indeed.
Stephen J 999. The neglect at center is inexcusable. Shelton had a lower PFF grade than Lucas Patrick. Check the tape for Minnesota, Green Bay, Cleveland, New Orleans. The center play was the root of the problem in those games. 1-5. Yeah.
I'll watch it.
All right. I think we've done enough today. We do have a show tomorrow, and it's gonna a special one back in studio at noon with a special guest.
You do not want to miss tomorrow at noon. I'm thinking about locking everybody out and doing the show myself, but most likely I'll let a couple of you in. But I'm very excited about tomorrow's guest. You can make your guesses as to who that would be on your own, but I'm super excited for tomorrow, and it's going to be fun.
All right. It's been a good weekend. We will see you tomorrow. Talk to you then.
We all silly like the mayor.